Hello, gorgeous Megan.
Hello to you.
Can
How
you
are you?
good? Oh, you look gorgeous, looks glamorous. The hair looks more magnificent than usual.
Probably because I had water and I could wash it
I was just
yesterday.
clearly
Yeah.
the quality of the Norfolk Island water has had a profound impact.
Tara, I actually haven't brushed it today. That's what it is.
I want to be you. I do want to be you. I do want to be you. You look magnificent and glamorous and glorious. And poor Megan, I've basically been stalking Megan this week. So, Megan, thank you for fronting once more today. We are thrilled to see you. So, Dougster, good morning.
Morning.
It's lovely. It's lovely to see you. And again, once more, you're just trying to impress us all by your ironing skills. And thank you so much for
Well,
sharing.
hasn't been ironed. That's just been washed and hung out and yeah.
See, you're a man that knows exactly what's going on, Doug. That's actually what you do. Now, can I say for the heterosexual women and lesbians on the call, Doug, that level of dexterity to be able to know after washing to hang it on a coat hanger, if that information could be conveyed to the heteronormative population, that would change the world.
Well, it's here for all to witness and watch and listen, and so they just got to tune in.
And see, that's Doug. It's like this knowledge is here if you will receive it. Good on you, Doug. We're going to talk about a lot about Doug today. And beautiful gays in Gay. How are you, Angel? Oh, your hair's looking gorgeous too. How are you, Gay?
I'm okay, thank you.
Oh, it is wonderful to see you. So it's just, my hair is the weather in Darwin. I can't convey to your colleagues, and my hair is just basically out as a sort of albino fro at the moment. It's a bit of a nightmare, but we're shaping it. But I'm in awe of your hair. And look who's here, the woman that we all just love just a little bit. Hello, Jane.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that I'm going to teach next week, so I could join you this week because I have to teach from Friday from next week. So yeah, I won't catch up with the video, but there's nothing in comparison with meeting you all here. I
Oh,
hope you all have a wonderful new year.
well, Jane, we love you. We have so much to talk about with you. So I'm going to return to Jane in 1 second as well. So Jane, just our heart is smaller when you're not in our lives. You are so precious to us. You are amazing. And our other favorite human, Max. Max, hello, Max.
Hello.
Hello. It was wonderful to see you too. And you were testing my short-term memory too, or indeed testing my Chinese when we had your fantastic name on the screen. And now it's Max to make it easier for sort of like reified, terrible white people like me. So Max, thank you so much for being here. Are you well?
Thank you, Tara.
You good?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is my bedhead. My mornings are always full of my hair is everywhere in the morning.
I know how you feel, but if I woke up like that, I would be thanking my blessings for the day, Max. You're a superstar. And our legendary Susan is in. Good morning, Susan.
Hi. Good evening.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening to you. Looking magnificent as always. We adore you, Susan. And Kate, who, wow, that's a summary little floaty little number there, Kate.
It is. It's very hot in Sydney, even though it's very windy. So this is another hippie
Yeah.
thing. I
Yeah.
regress for these meetings.
No, look, as you should, Kate. And look, our goal is not to be ideological in digital office hours, 2024, 2023. Our job is to present the full palette of humanity. And so we have me holding up the goth end, you holding up the hippie end, and we get on, Kate. We show that peace is possible in the world, Kate, every week.
It is.
Thank you, Kate. You're a superstar.
A happy new year to everyone. Some of you I haven't met yet, have I?
Well, Kate, beautiful Max has been joining us for some of our Right Club, and she's been in. Max is legendary. So Max is going to end up Vice Chancellor in about 15 years. So we've got to hold on to Max because Max is going to be employing us shortly, right? Yeah. Max, you know
Which university, Matt?
I'm about to start my research master's at Seoul National University in Korea.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. See, it's an international party. I'm so thrilled. And Max is just with us. And Max has just been fantastic. And we're just thrilled to have Max here. Brilliant, Max. You're a superstar. And look, we should acknowledge Liam as well. Liam, who published an unbelievable article overnight, which I am so looking forward to reading tonight when I get home. So, Liam, just tell us, and of course, hello to Muslim, hello to wonderful Bree. Lovely to see you both. Now, Liam, mate, let's talk about this article before we get to the crucial stuff. Now, tell us about this article and the decisions you made, why you published it there, and what your hopes are for this great article, darling.
Oh, hello everybody. Happy New Year. Evening, afternoon, good day. Yeah, so it's actually entered publication a lot quicker than what I thought. It was going to drop on the 1st of January. And then I received a notification from Springer that they wanted to put it behind a paywall for it to drop on that day. And I was like, no, this is not what I want my scholarship to be. I want it to be open access. So I was very fortunate in the sense that the research that I did, it was funded by a research council. So I basically asked them to cough up to make it open access. I said, look, the university, the research council, I will put their email addresses in here, like, please demand the payment from them because I'm not paying it and it's not going behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So that's how we got it open access. I think it was open access as well for ethical reasons, and I wanted to write it in a way that was accessible to the young people who took part in the research, who are going to be reading it. Well, they won't be very young anymore. They'll probably be young adults now. But yeah, it was a way of dissemination. So it's distributed internationally by Springer Nature, so that's good. But it kind of captures the pandemic narratives of young people who are in receipt of universal credit, so conditional benefit payments, who are unemployed, and the kind of stigmatization of such claimants in the UK, which there's a rich history of that. A shameful history, in fact, of that from government actors at the meso, micro, macro level analysis. I've also tried to make it intersectional in terms of the readability. So I've talked to the different variables of the young people, for example, their ethnicity, their culture, their gender, their social class. So I've tried to do quite a lot. I originally sent it off for peer review in a UK-based closed circuit editorial board journal, which was high impact. And the feedback that I got was basically they were trying to shut me down. They didn't want it to see the light of day. So what I chose to do was withdraw the paper and send it to another journal, an international journal based in Australia, with international readership, and it got through peer review so much easier because the peer reviewers were very kind, and I'd enacted a lot of Tara's maxims for how to get through peer review in terms of addressing the comments, thanking the peer reviewers, and also addressing each of them methodically, and reasons why you might have rejected them, etc., or accepted them, and engaging with kindness as well. So it seems to have got through, and that's great. Considering a few weeks ago, I was just wanting to completely walk away from everything.
I know, darling.
So, but those rainy days still do come. And I was on the phone to my lovely colleague Alison today about academic differences and how they're settled and how that's understood, as somebody who I really look up to, who I currently work with. So, it's constantly on the back of my mind. But yeah, thank you everybody as well for just being so supportive. I want to say thank you as well to Gay and Kate on that day when they was messaging me, and Megan as well. They were messaging me on the day like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Let's have a conversation." And Tara as well, you know, for reaching out. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Oh, you're unbelievable. And so it is an open access article. It is, I've already had a quick flick through, Liam. It's certainly going to go in my claustropolitanism, my claustropop book. It's beautiful on that. Megan, I think it's a great reference for you, noting we'll be going into your COC that we're going to be talking about shortly. But I think it's a truly great piece of work. It's theoretically rigorous. It is an immaculate article, and I certainly will be sending it to our colleagues at CDU as a great archetype of how to configure an applied social scientific article. Doug, might be useful for you to have a look at, brother. I've been tagged into it at Twitter. Have a look at it, Doug, and it's a great model, I think, for your sort of applied social sciences to follow, brother.
Okay, yeah, because I think Liam just put a link up, so I'll just click on that and grab it.
Oh, that's you'll have a ball with it, and very, very nice on intersectionality, Liam. It's a tough concept and trope. There's some, and I apologize for saying this, there's some absolute rubbish, theoretical rubbish in that particular paradigm, but some really powerful and important stuff. And your article is convincing me of the value increasingly. So Liam, you're a legend. And Kate wants to speak to our great hero. Talk to us, Kate.
I do, because last time, I think it was, Liam, we said we were going to publish on the 1st of January, and you've all heard about the stupid stuff I went through with my MRSA paper. Well, it was published on the 1st of January. If anyone's interested, I'll put the link up, but it's so many back and forth, and you know, that silly reviewer who changed the meanings, changed the but the editor, Professor Dr. Arun Kumar, has been fantastic. I think this is my 4th or 5th paper with him over the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm really happy with him. It was and to everyone, this is open access too. So even if you're not in healthcare and you don't want to read it, you might want to pass it on to your friends.
Oh, I think it's amazing. And I'm so thrilled that the open access movement continues. And I'm so old that I remember when I was promoting open access, Liam, God help us, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was fighting these randoms in Canada and the US that were confusing open access with predatory journals. Do you remember this rubbish, Liam? Where, you know, where there's all this appalling stuff like, oh my goodness, a journal's come from India, therefore it must be predatory. And I'm sort of thinking some of the greatest, look, I'm getting all weird relaying this. Some of the greatest scholars in the world, some of the greatest universities in the world are in the remarkable nation of India. And the idea that you're going, oh, look, if it's from India, it's predatory. What mindset are you from? Where that's
What I don't get with this, Tara, is that the big publishers, and it is xenophobia and it is racism, we'll call it out for what it is. They have offices in New Delhi because of the labor distribution in the global south, and the labor ill distribution in the global south. So they've got people working on these journals very, very hard. Like my proofs went off to Manila in the Philippines, and they're doing all this work for these big journal companies, and then by our academic colleagues, they're being greeted with all this xenophobia.
And Liam, it's the two definitions of globalization, isn't it? We're getting all ambivalent with the ideology of globalization. It was this sort of, in neoliberalism, it's this benevolent force. You know, as money and people move freely around the planet, that is a good thing because we can extract profit from that movement of people and ideas. But then we've got the xenophobic component of it, whereby we've still got that colonial hierarchy as part of globalization. That is, particular people have a right to move their ideas around the world, and others are cut away and are not granted that right. And the trouble is, all these ideas bubble in the one word of globalization. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as you said, celebrated as a benevolent force, but we know that it's predominantly those based in, you know, Western nations who are extracting the value from these nations. you know, to do this and to get their work out there, and they're exploiting the labor of things that they critique. So, for example, when you get, for example, an article that's criticizing colonialism, but then they'll reinforce all the violences of colonialism, neocolonialism in a different way. You know, this is an article for another time, but, you know, this is just, you know, fascinating in terms of the global distribution of knowledge and how it's hierarchied. And, you know, we'll go back to, yes, based on racist and xenophobic tropes.
Yeah. And so the predatory nature of international journals charging author processing fees, that's not predatory. So it's a lovely Orwellian inversion, really. Whereas the academics who are doing the right thing and giving their labor for free to sustain high quality, they're the predatory journals.
I made sure, though, Tara, that the copyright for any of my articles is in my name. Like, they're not having that. It's a no-no.
And it's so, I'm hoping hundreds of students see this, Liam, and they really learn from our early career researchers. Do not sign your IP, your copyright away. Do not do this. And so Liam well said. Can I just go to Mary, whose head nearly left her neck at that point. So Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about the nature of studying colonization and trying to get this stuff, the tough stuff, published, that's actually critiquing the crew that are still in power because of colonization?
Yes, well, look, I'm at the moment I'm reading up on settler colonial theory, and really settler colonial theory explains what's going on here. And I really think, you know, I got into settler colonial theory because I'm looking at the colonization of Australia, but honestly, it describes the psychosis of Australia and other settler nations, including USA and I think England. I think England is very much formed by settler colonial theory. The more I read about it, the more I think about it. It is really shaped by settler ideas, settler colonial ideas still affect how things are done around the world today. And, you know, as an addendum, yes, I have had a lot of trouble getting my research up because I am researching colonial violence in Australia, and it just was very hard to find supervisors when I wanted to do this research. It took me a good 6 months. So, and I will be going on to do something else in my PhD, and I will be starting the search this year.
Well, can I just say, don't you want our academic colleagues to just be more courageous? If I had a wish, Mary, for 2024, it's just courage, dear friends, courage, rather than self-interest and self-absorption. And Mary, that's the only reason I can think of why you wouldn't be supervisor. People going, oh, I don't really want that thesis title on my CV. Is that the point? Really? It's like in the old days, which were really 10 years ago, Liam, where people, if they wanted a leadership role in a university, Steve, my beloved late husband, happy birthday, Steve. It's Steve's birthday today. Happy birthday, Steve. But Steve used to laugh because friends of ours that went on to leadership roles, he used to describe it as they'd clean the Marxism off their CVs. So they were, so if they're thinking, look, leadership, this is their moment, they'd go through their CV line at a time, and anything Marxist they'd remove. So they'd edit it so they could gain a leadership role. And Mary, are we still there? But now race rather than Marxism has become the new thing that's getting people a bit agitated.
Look, I think that's possible, but just as a little side anecdote, the only academic that's really shown a lot of enthusiasm for my research is a neo-Marxist. So, which, you know, oh, you've got to come and give us a talk, stuff like that. But yeah, it's I do think that we need to look at the history of the formation, certainly of the Anglosphere, and it still governs what's happening today. So I suggest everyone have a look at settler colonial theory. It will blow your mind.
It's great theory, and a lot of it had its origins in Canada with its very complicated colonial history as well, but it is moving around the world. And Liam, my argument always is investigate the unmarked sign. So we need to look very strongly at English history and how Englishness moved around the world. And that great book by Candy, published when, or about 2004, called Maps of Englishness, for me was the truly great book that investigated that. And of course, Mary, the nature of the colonisation of the Scots, of the Irish and of the Welsh, understanding Welsh colonisation so that the Welsh were rendered so invisible, their symbolism was not even on the Union Jack, is something to really consider. So the colonisation of the Scots required a bit of that to be on the flag, right? But the dragon is nowhere to be seen, like Wales in Englishness.
I just find all of this, I mean, like as a child of a migrant, my mum's from the Republic of Ireland. So, and I only actually thought about, you know, and this is really shameful, about where my citizenship emanates from when Brexit, the realities of Brexit were occurring, and lots of people were being turned away. Lots of people were losing livelihoods as a result of this program that of 5 years that we're still living with the after effects of, and it's just set the country back you know, years in terms of global relations, in terms of relationships with the border in Northern Ireland. So it's, you know, it really made me think about that. And I was speaking to like my Irish cousins, and you know, they was like, what have you been learning in school here? Like, you know, how do you not know your own history?
Oh, and look, Liam, it's not on you. I remember certainly Steve when he arrived in Australia, and of course he ended up sort of in central New South Wales in Dubbo, which, you know, is a very high Indigenous population, wonderful Indigenous population, Wiradjuri nation, and there were all these images of him sort of walking with these remarkable elders, these remarkable Indigenous women who were teaching Steve. So these beautiful, tiny little women and sort of 6'2" Steve walking around the Dubbo campus of CSU, and him listening and learning. And he'd come home to me in the evenings and he'd say, I am so embarrassed. How could I not have known this? And he said, it was just never taught. But also, I didn't take the responsibility to learn. You don't know what you don't know. So it's about walking with other humans. And I mean, this is Jane's entire life project, PhD, walking with other humans, listening, caring and learning, and realizing that that which existed in the past does not have to exist in the present. I mean, Queen Jane, do you want to speak on this? This is your expertise, my darling. This is everything.
Thank you, everyone. I just have 3 weeks in Vietnam and my mind's down there. I just have my body here back in Australia. And I was so grateful that I could return after 4 years and met all the people that I wished to meet through the North, Central, and the South of Vietnam. And I realized my project is in a different light. And that's something that I could do this year because, as you know, this is my third last year PhD. So I didn't make it last year, but one success is that I could submit my whole thesis draft to my supervisor. So this year there won't be. Thank you so much. It's the time to make the revision and hopefully the submissions. So when I was in Vietnam, I'm thinking about the movies that show on Vietnamese TV when I was small, or The River Run. I think that you will remember that.
Yeah.
And of course, in waterscape in Vietnam, there's no way that we can use the word run for the river. It has to flow. There's no way that you can use the landscape to the waterscape in that way. So I had the opportunity to teach Vietnamese this year. So this is totally different with what I've been doing, like trying to explain Vietnamese culture through English.
Yes.
This year, I had the opportunity to do that in my native language in Vietnamese to Australian government staff. So I'm so excited for the opportunities. And I believe that will bring a lot of insights for me when I have the question from my students.
Oh, Jane, Did anyone sort of get incredibly teary? I know Meg and I are sort of getting more in love with Jane every minute of every day, but what a privilege it is to have Jane in this country, and that's the nature. You know, what a joy to have such a brilliant human being decide to walk with us for a portion of her life. I mean, Jane, it's unbelievable, mate.
Yeah, and that could be my last year in Australia as well, because while I was in Vietnam, they decided to cut the postgraduate visa from 50 years old to 35 years old. So I may not be able to be here next year.
Yeah, so Liam, our government, and can I say it's a Labor government too, just everyone take a breath and a bex and a lie down, made a decision about international students and supposedly look at Kate laughing like a banshee, that supposedly international PhD students sort of have to be 35, and 35 is the magic age, and if you're 35 and one day, then you can't come into Australia because you've got nothing to say to us.
It's the same in Britain under this current government that we've got. We've got a very right-wing government, very hard right-wing government, that are due an election year this year. They're up for general election, and the Labour politics are mirroring Australia. They're this post-zombie neoliberal group. And it's interesting to see unfold in real time. But they've just announced, it was December, the 1st of December, about international student visas and restricting who can be associated on a visa. So, for example, like family members, you know, if you've got a child or if you've got a spouse, like that's apparently a no-go, you know, now. So
Yeah.
it's going to cause so many problems, especially for medical staff who migrate from other nations to the UK to work in our hospitals that are falling apart currently, and basically saving the day, and they're treated so disgracefully, and it's so saddening, and it's actually sickening to an extent.
Look, it is, Liam, and can I do a particular shout out to all my mates in the Bolton NHS as well? By the sounds of it, this week and particularly overnight, Bolton NHS has basically come to an absolute collapse because of a lack of staffing. So this is, and the emergency rooms are closing in Bolton. So this is absolutely devastating. But Liam, what I can't understand is the doctorate has never been more diverse than it is now, right? We now have a majority of women since 2017, a majority of women. We've got a majority of people over the age of 40. More people over 40 than under 40 are enrolled in a PhD today. So what is going on that there can be such a blinkering of policy that doesn't align remotely with the reality of a doctoral program? I don't understand it.
I don't either. Like, my best colleagues were women over the age of 40, and they're just disappearing, or they're not, or they're on a program, and then the odds are so stacked against them, and there's no respect for that, and there's no understanding. Like, so I've said, when I'm a PhD supervisor, I've said, like, look, you know, we need to be handing the rungs of the ladder downwards. We need to be holding a hand out. And, you know, if that takes time, it takes time, you know, respect the candidature. There's an obsession in the UK, either, you know, you're full-time, part-time, and there's no in between. And I know there's the research informed argument that, you know, the longer you do a doctorate, the less likely you are to complete it. And that is the case, sadly. And I know that's the case. But, you know, what are we doing as academics, you know, for those of us who are in tenured posts, especially in the top tier universities? So, you know, I've had requests like from colleagues, for example, who have said, oh, have you got any we're doing this research project at top tier university. Can you just tell me your networks, you know, so we can, you know, find out some things about your networks and, you know, people you've got access to and groups to. And I'm like, no, because you either put everybody on the publications, you either give credit to the people who've taken part, you redistribute that money from your, you know, ESRC grant or whatever it is. and you share, like, and I think there's a lot of as you said, Tara, gatekeeping going on
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, and look,
Absolutely.
Liam, what the RAE and the REF showed, which are the research management and excellence protocols in the UK, what they showed, and I'll use the phrase, they were trying to demonstrate that the best research happens in the elite universities. That was the whole point of the RAE and the REF. The problem was the actual data set showed the exact opposite, that actually great research happened everywhere throughout the entire sector. So they had to invent phrases. And Liam, I always loved this phrase that they invented to explain why a great researcher was at Bolton as much as the University of Manchester. And they came up with the phrase, quote, pockets of excellence. So you haven't got trousers of excellence, but you have got pockets of excellence everywhere. And Mary, that's the point. If you're doing specific topics, then you really do need to find that pocket of excellence. And you know what, it may not be at Sydney University. There are certain people, and I know students may want to enroll at those universities too, so they get the Sydney University thing. But of course, they don't get the quality supervision or the expertise because the pockets of excellence are everywhere. Sorry, Kate, go, darling. Oh, sound, beautiful girl. There we go.
No, that's all right. I mean, I've done 3 degrees at Sydney University, 1 at University of New South Wales, supposed to be 2 of the best universities. Look, it's the people who taught me, not the actual university. And the only reason I chose those 2 because they were close to home. But I keep looking at your vlog 26, Tara, and revising my PhD for an academic CV. It's almost there. And I keep talking to Eunice about, you know, should I be a professor? Should I apply for something? And I do look at different universities in Sydney mainly, but I can't get into any of them because I'm not double vaxxed. That's still on the criteria. I'm not getting vaxxed to teach, for goodness sake.
Look, it's a weird thing. There will reach a point where that won't be the case, Kate, but I'm not sure when. I mean, Liam and I are doing this work on this COVID, post-COVID reality, and it's a complicated story.
Yeah, there's no science behind this vax. But don't let me get started on the vax. We have a huge shortage of nursing staff at the moment across the country. But what the government is not telling anyone is that 3 years ago, they terminated 5,000 nurses in New South Wales, 3,000 in Queensland. I don't know how many in the other states, because they didn't want to get vaxxed. Why didn't they want to get vaxxed? Because they'd been nursing people who'd been vaxxed and were so desperately ill and dying. Our government has lied about all of that. We don't have 4 million people who've died from COVID, whatever COVID is. We do have.
Bless Kate. And of course, the issue is public health, colleagues. Kate, we got most of that, darling one. The issue is public health and how we make determinations. And of course, people have rights to make individual choices, and that should be respected. And then there are work and employment rights and the consequences of those. So they're very bespoke issues that we do need to talk about and not mask the arguments. And of course, Kate, I'll say, you know, I'm heavily, for which I apologize, I'm heavily vaxxed. I think I'm at COVID vaccination 5. It's like, I'm one of those people that give me another one. I know you hate me for that, Kate, but it's like, is there another one available? Pick an orifice, shove something up there. So I'm one of those people.
I don't want you to get sick. I don't want you to get sick.
I know. Look, I know, but I have a particular belief in vaccinations, and you and I disagree on this, and that's okay. And but the conversation needs to be had, Kate. That's the point. Not masking it and not saying, and I've written articles on this. Anyone that says to you, believe the science, don't believe them, right? You need to understand the science, right? Don't believe anybody, because that's religion. Don't believe anybody. We all need to do the reading and understand the evidence and interpret. And that's the nature of citizenship. We don't believe anything. We don't believe religion. We don't believe despots. We don't believe anything. We understand, we interpret, we read. And that'll always.
I've listened to some of the most brilliant scientists over the last 3 years. Peter McCullough for #1 in the US. Outstanding information on this COVID jab, which is not a vax.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And just read, but read widely. You know, Kate, you and I agree on this. Read widely. Don't just read people you agree with. Read everything. And if you are lacking the literacy and the expertise, learn to get yourself up there. So you and I agree on that. We disagree on other things, but we agree on a lot. Now, I'm going to use Kate's expertise shortly. And Linton, can I say a big hello to Jilly, darling? How are you, sweetheart? You and I have been sort of slightly stalking each other this week too. How are you going, my love?
I'm in a better space. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Still
very
grappling with pulling stuff together, but
sweetness. Just start with one concept at a time. The one thing I'd say is we were talking about semiotics and social semiotics this
yeah.
week. And can I say Paul sent his love to you as well. He's got a sick little one at the moment, but he's sending his love to you, Jilly. But what I would do is I would start with, here's a concept, take one book and write that out, and then another book and write that out. See how you go.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you.
now, look, we got 3 queries for this week. I don't think we're going to get through all of them, but I will start with the crucial one that's useful for Megan and other colleagues. I saw our beautiful Nur was on the call, but I think has left temporarily, about preparing for a confirmation of candidature. Now, we've got a lot of students. Oh, we've got Max. Max is straight bloody in there. Yeah. Now, a COC in the United Kingdom is a different beast. It's later on in the program, but it is a deal breaker event. Liam, the COC is held pretty early in Australia. It's held between 6 months and 12 months. And it has 2 goals. One is to assess, is the project sound? And the second one, can the student do it? And so it's a bit of a deal breaker benchmarking moment in our program, and very stressful for students, very, very stressful for students. Now, Megan's about to do hers in 2 weeks. So if we can support and help Megan and everybody, because obviously Doug is we're probably going to go early on a COC for our Dougster, I think, and help Doug through it. So Doug, with someone who's just about to start, I think, did you start today, Doug, or did you start yesterday?
Monday.
You started
Next
Monday.
week. Next
Monday.
week.
So first
So-
we wish Doug for Monday. We've probably got a meeting on Tuesday, Dougster. I'll organise that. So Dougster, you're going to try and go relatively early for your COC, but do you want to just express the complete fear, horror, paranoia, and disgust that exists before you even start, like that as a benchmark? Do you want to just capture that for people who are starting?
I think you just summed it all up.
Okay,
Well,
but
it's
why?
quite daunting. It's quite daunting knowing that everything sort of hinges on that one, day of the mid-semester, sort of mid-year sort of thing, and it all sort of hinges there. It's either if you can continue, or you continue with explanations of why you must be allowed to go ahead, or goodbye, let's do a master's, or what. So it's a bit daunting.
Oh, see, Doug, you're a bugger. You're a bugger. Because in many ways, so Doug's helped us already. This is why Doug's on this call and Doug's in my life. The notion that it's one event, it's not sort of one complete disaster of a moment where your life is over if it ends. The first thing is, and Megan will talk about this in a second, you write a document, and that document takes about 6 or 8 weeks. You have multiple drafts, so everything's calm. You got control of the process. Then that goes to people that are going to assess it, and they have a look at that in their own time. They're having a relax, oh, this is interesting, or not. And then on the day, one delivers, in the CDU experience, 15 minutes of a presentation with your PowerPoint slides. And then you take questions on it. And say you start sort of like speaking in tongues or just reciting your shopping list, Doug. Say you go, oops, yep, lost it. Here is my laundry list of, I need lettuce, I need carrot. Oh, I've lost the will to live, right? So say that happens. The world doesn't end, because then you can actually go again with a different event, or the colleagues can say, oh, look, we had a bit of a moment and we managed the stress. And Doug, because of you, and you've announced these conversations publicly in digital office hours, what we've done at CDU is, if people don't want to do a live presentation, so there are matters that, physically, psychologically, emotionally block the synchronous delivery of something, I have put in the regs that someone can deliver an asynchronous 15 minutes. They've got to take live questions, but if the stress of that day is too much, then they have a 15-minute that they've pre-recorded in their own home and calm and relaxed, and then they take questions. So that's been done to, again, stop this singular event. What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but I'm going to try and do the whole thing live, and if I blow it, then I'll just try and do it another day.
Yeah,
if possible.
Now we're going to go to Megan in 1 second, but Doug, still, now see, this is what worries me with you and I, and this is why we're a weird combination, you and I, all right? Why would you think you'd blow up? Where's that? Why? I mean, you know,
I don't have high hopes on my personal performance of doing things, so I yeah, have low self-esteem and low expectations.
now, Doug, can you and I, it's January 5, can you and I make a decision this year? Yeah,
Mm.
it's January 5. Let's make a decision that I need you to look in the mirror every morning, Doug, particularly when you're looking at that great shirt behind you, which shows a skill set most heteronormative men don't have, as we've discussed. So when you look in the mirror each morning, I want you to say to your mirror, I am fabulous.
Oh, that's gonna be a hard one.
Can you promise
I'll
me
give it a go. I
every
won't do it
morning?
here live on video, but
You don't video, no need to send it through Twitter. That's fine, Doug, not to tweet it. That's cool.
yeah.
But just I want you to look in the mirror and look straight at your own eyes, right?
Oh, I don't like those. But okay, yeah, I hear you say, yeah, positive affirmations are cool.
And I want you to just say that, because the thing is, you're rehearsing the fabulousness, because Doug, you are fabulous. You are a courageous, brilliant, extraordinary man. And through your participation in these gigs, I can't tell you how many people write to me, Doug, and go, what an amazing man Doug is, what an inspirational man Doug is. And wow, his movement through these sessions has been unbelievable. And I won't name the higher up leader in the university that sent me that email, but it's someone pretty high up in our university that said that, and he's thrilled that you're joining us. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to come up a bit often in Darwin then.
You will.
I've never been to Darwin, but yeah.
It's fabulous. But for me, can you just start this weekend? I'll get you to report back next Friday. I am fabulous. I am fabulous.
Sweet.
Sweet. You can say I'm a sweet too. You know, I'm sweet. You can do sweet too, but I need fabulous first. Now, Megan, obviously Doug has captured the fear, the despair, the concern that goes on with this event better than anybody I've ever heard, actually. Now, Megan, you're doing yours on the 16th of January.
Yep.
Speak to us, oh Queen.
Before I speak to you, I just want to speak to Doug. Actually, Doug, you're not fabulous. You're really bloody fabulous. And I cannot wait to actually see your presentation, because I know it will be brilliant. And you have the support of this entire group. Look at everybody nodding. Like, you are great, Doug.
Yeah. Thank you.
But Doug, I also understand the fear that you speak of. I have very healthy self-esteem, and I am a practiced presenter. And anybody that follows me on social media knows I'm not scared of the camera. Like, I just get up and I talk shit. Yeah. So I'm okay with it. But I've had to manage myself around this whole thing, because there is a fear inside me that goes, I'm being judged. And what if I'm not good enough? It's actually not about me. It's about the research. So I've had to separate the two. Like, yes, that's my feeling. I need to be able to verbalize it. But this is about my research. It's not about me. So I've separated it in my head. But one of my issues is there's just so much wonderful and interesting stuff out there, particularly given the conversations that we've had today. So many of them have just come in and seamed up with what I'm doing. The more I read, the more I speak to people, the more I realize that, shit, I don't know enough. Like, I'm just about to present something that, they can make a decision about, well, this is not quite good enough yet, Megan. You need to do this again. So my knowledge that I only have this much knowledge when there's this much that's available is becoming a barrier to me. And I've got to stop buying books, because the more I buy, the more I go, oh, that is so interesting. Part of the attraction for me for doing a PhD was 100,000 words. Like, you get to write 100,000 words. How cool is that? And I do suffer from verbosity. My research proposal that I've handed in is around about 15,000 words, and I think it was supposed to be maximum 10.
Zero.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I couldn't bring it down. I just had to put all those extra words in there. But it is just so fascinating, and trying to hone down into what goes into the research proposal. I'm not writing the thesis yet. This is just the research proposal. I don't have to support all of my ideas, and I don't have to put everything in. But then the next challenge is putting a slide deck together for the 15-minute presentation. Oh my Lord, that's even harder. I've spent about 2 days on it now, and I'm going back straight after this to try and curate it again and again and again.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it's going to be like as I'm curating the 100,000 words and going, no, that's got to go. That's got to go. You know, I absolutely will need an editor at that stage. I'm sure of it.
Oh, darling, you'll be fine. But Megan, darling, and I'm seeing Liam, the legendary Liam. It's important here, Liam. What happens is, because a lot of Australian academics haven't worked internationally, and particularly haven't examined internationally, they get and done oral examinations, right? So done the Viva. They suddenly think that when they're in the COC space, that they're doing an oral exam at the end, Liam. So I spend a lot of time trying to teach Australian academics how to be an assessor of a COC. And of course, so Megan's paranoia, and you're not paranoid, they are out to get you, Megan. That's a t-shirt I have at home, by the way. You're not paranoid, they are out to get you. But can I say, Megan, the good training, so why I've picked 3 really experienced assessors for you and for our wonderful Piper, is because they know the difference between a COC and a final thesis. They know the body of work, the scope and scale required for 6 to 12 months in. And all they're assessing is, can you do it? Can you do it? And is there a functional project here? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then good assessors go, thanks for playing, we're rocking, have a good journey, and we'll see you at the mid-candidature.
Then I hope I get 3 yeses, Tara.
Look, I believe you will, but Liam, let's get advice from you about all of this, and then we're gonna go to Mary, because obviously Mary has a very interesting COC as well. But go for it, Liam.
I just wanted to ask, so in the UK, I've been through 2 systems, because I tried to do a doctorate a number of years ago and ended up leaving for various reasons. But that one, the way that they assessed it was, it's a relic of the past, like, in terms that I've come to understand that now as more experienced I've got as an academic. So what they used to do every 9 months was make students submit a 9,000 word condensed document, and they could terminate studies at any point.
Yeah.
So, and the rationale was, oh, well, they were, and I don't know whether they were just being kind of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, let's be a bit coy about this, but we can make you sweat at any time, and I'm like, we're not on a reality show. Like, we're not on Survivor.
Yeah.
It might feel like that, but this is a doctorate, and this is a contribution to knowledge, and it evolves and grows, and you should be making mistakes. You're allowed to make mistakes. And students saw it as a punishment, these panels, and it wasn't lined up with expertise at all, and it was very biased. So the next institution I successfully got the PhD from was actually a lot better equipped at assessing. It sounds a lot like the Australian model that I'd been through. So I sent a research proposal in. After 6 months, that was reviewed by 2 reviewers, and they basically said whether there's cause for concern, or whether you can go ahead, whether this needs to be an MPhil or a PhD. You call it early, right? And then after 12 months is the COC, which is like, it felt a bit like a Viva. It did a little bit, However, it was testing my ability to know whether my research questions were operationalizable, whether I was able to go through the ethics scrutiny process correctly within the institution, but also look at a first chapter, which would be the literature review for a social policy / sociology PhD. And the presentation was done separately with our cohort because we had to organize a conference. This was pre COVID-19 lockdowns, and that's returned now, which is a good thing. And that's how they did it. So they separated it over the space of 12 months. So it was more or less like you being monitored, but you're also being supported, and also you could set. And here's where the reality show kind of feel comes. You then submitted a report about your supervisors. It was reversed. The kind of, and then someone external would read that in the faculty, and if you was basically saying SOS help me, you would be removed from those supervisors, and new supervisors would be found, or there'd be a kind of remediation process or mediation process in some way. And for some people that did work, because there were some international students who weren't being supervised appropriately, or they felt that way, and that was addressed very early on, and the support that was needed for those students was given to everybody's satisfaction, and no judgment. And I think that works better, and it did work better, and I've seen it in action, because my PhD supervisor was a PGR director for the school, and I could see the stress that they went to make sure that they got this right, because they didn't want it to be like another institution where things had gone wrong, where students are treated, where students had even took their own lives in some examples.
Exactly right. Liam, what we do, and of course Megan's just had to fill in this form for us, what I've done through the milestones, and we'll get to the importance of the milestones in a second, but what I've done with the milestones is a magic question that the students get where they are asked about their supervisor. Are there any concerns you would like to address with your supervisor? Bracket, please note these comments are not sent to your supervisor. So that question in the workflow is extracted, and we do that for many reasons. Oh yes, Doug, I know you're going to do that first bloody form. It's like, my supervisor, she's nuts, mate. She's nuts. But, and can I say, by the way, Doug, we organised it this morning so that, because what normally happens is those comments go directly to the dean, right? So
that's what I thought.
Bypass but this morning we've confirmed that the workflow for my students goes straight to the Deputy Vice Chancellor research. So I'm as much accountable as any other human, right? But
okay.
Okay, do I trust her? But the point is, Liam, we need to know, right? So in Australia, there was a big report in 2016 called Respect Now Always, which showed sexual assault, sexual harassment in graduate education, absolutely catastrophic. And the students must have control of their own story, but be rendered safe at every possible opportunity. So that's important, because it will go, Liam, darling.
I just also want to speak to something that we've not spoken about, and it's just come to my mind about what's happened at Harvard University with the Vice Chancellor, and about as a Black woman in academia, and how the wolves have been out to get her. It has been atrocious what has happened to this professor, and I just have to attest that is something that needs to be spoken about, as well.
Oh, mate,
also, the president, was it the president of the University of Philadelphia?
It was Wisconsin. No, I'm Liam. I've put I may in fact have a whole chapter on that remarkable colleague in my book on the Cosmopolitan University. But yeah, Dougster, the interesting parallel, and I am putting a parallel between them both, there'll probably be in an article, is a president and vice chancellor of a university in Wisconsin. You know, our wonderful president who, and of course I talked about it in the email for my CDU crew this morning, who was making porn with his wife, and had an OnlyFans series of links, Liam. So President, Vice Chancellor, cool with the porn, yeah, absolutely. And my personal favourite, Liam, is he was recording videos with adult entertainment professionals. That's great, respect to all the adult entertainment professionals out there, but recording all of them, so this adult entertainment professional, his wife and himself, making vegan meals. And then they'd go off to the bedroom. So, Liam, we've got this fascinating parallel of, you know, what's happening, and also see the challenges with the plagiarism, academic misconduct stuff. You can't in many ways compare the past with the present, right? I think there was a research study done of PhD theses produced before 1994, and using our contemporary software, half of them were found to have plagiarism.
Yeah,
Half.
it's just even things like, you know, the shutdown of this particular academic, what they're trying to do. So she put a personal note, and you know, in terms of her thesis, a dedication, that was a quote. And they said, oh, that's plagiarism. I was like, no, it's a personal quote. It's not even examinable material. It's in an acknowledgement section. It's like, what the hell?
Exactly, Liam. And that's why you've seen me, and all my friends and colleagues on this call know, I ignore the number. The number that comes from the software is irrelevant. You go through line at a time and you see what's going on. And then if you see something, you don't believe the software, you triangulate the software. You know, well said, Liam, but it's a catastrophic time. But what I tell you, Liam, the crucial difference, the reason we have milestones, the reason we do this is not for sort of a reality television Survivor or Married at First Sight, which is how it often feels in the Australian university sector. It's not that at all. It's milestones empowers the student to finish in 3 years, because the only reason we have milestones is to backward map. If you don't backwardly map, then you might as well, I mean, there's no reason for the milestones. It's just then reporting, and it's hitting students over the head. Milestones exist to empower the student. So, Megan, do you want to finish us off, gorgeous, on this one about the nature of the backward mapping, and if, I mean, that's an unusual concept. You've just come to that concept, Megan, and your view on it now as you're about to go into this gig?
Well, I'm take the backward mapping very seriously, because I need to complete ASAP. So my intention is to actually finish within 18 months now, and then spend the last 12 months of my scholarship publishing and really pushing the publishing boundaries. I'm not doing this to muck around. I've turned 60. I don't have a lot of years left working in my profession, so I'm jumping into something different. Yeah, so the backward mapping is actually incredibly helpful to me, because I know exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm pushing that boundary.
Really,
yeah, I'm doing it before I'm supposed to do it.
spot on, Megan. And Mary, can I finish with you, Delamon? Because obviously the masters and the milestones is such a complicated beast, because the timelines are so truncated. But any advice you'd offer to us all about you and milestones? Because yours was a bit messy by memory.
Yes, mine was messy. And as I was doing my research proposal, my supervisor was saying, look, you're not ready to do a PhD. So in the end, I said, oh, okay, well, I'll make it a master's. And that's what it's become. But doing the actual milestones themselves, I really concur, Doug. You're showing your research idea. And one thing that I think we often forget, because we get right into our research and we're getting a lot of criticism from supervisors and stuff, what you're doing is going to be unique. You've had a unique idea, and you just need to work out the best way to show it. And the other comment that Megan made that I find really interesting is, doing the PowerPoint, you have to work out, what angle am I going to come at it to present it the best to people who know nothing about it. So it's quite completely different to writing the research proposal. And that's what I'm also doing now with the milestone 2. And the other thing is, Megan, you don't need to know everything with your confirmation of candidature. 3 months after I did my CIC, I came across settler colonial theory. It will now be the backbone of my thesis, and I'll be going throughout the thesis, I'll be saying this is another aspect of showing settler colonial theory, blah, blah, blah. And so I will be talking about that quite a lot in my milestone 2, because that is a new idea that I didn't discuss in my CIC. So things develop as you go along.
What a magnificent way to end our glorious session, colleagues. I'm so grateful for all of your time. Julie's as excited as I am. It's magnificent. Megan, week and a half to go. We got this, girlfriend. We got this. Jane, we're all more in love with you than we ever were. And Doug, rock on, brother. Rock on. Any man that can do that with a shirt can do a PhD. See you on the other side, colleagues. Much love. See you soon.